You could see it from miles off. A pale blue line across the northern horizon, stretching away to the east and the west and vanishing in the far distance, immense and unbroken. This is the end of the world, it seemed to say. The thoughts of Jon Snow on the Wall. A Game of Thrones Chapter 19, Jon 3. The Wall is a colossal barrier of ice stretching across the northern border of the Seven Kingdoms, dividing the realm of men with the lands beyond. It extends for 100 leagues, which is approximately 300 miles, and rises over 700 feet at its tallest point. In certain hilly regions, such as near the castle Greyguard, the wall's massive foundations lift it to heights approaching 900 feet. The wall is counted among the famed explorer Lomas Longstrider's famous 9 wonders made by man, and is legend all over the known world, even in the furthest reaches of Essos. The wall is defended and maintained by the sworn brothers of the Night's Watch, and has been since it was raised. These men patrol and guard 19 castles, spanning from the Frostfang Mountains in the west to the Bay of Seals in the east. At the start of the main book series, only 3 of these 19 castles, Castle Black, the Shadow Tower, and Eastwatch-by-the-Sea, remain garrisoned, given the decline of the Night's Watch over the centuries. Those who take the Black to avoid execution or other punishments are said to have been sent to the Wall, and this has become primarily the method in which the Night's Watch gains its new recruits in modern times, as serving in the Watch has lost its wider appeal. The Wall was originally raised to defend the realms of the First Men from the threats in the land beyond, and for 8,000 years the sworn brothers of the Night's Watch have stood vigil upon it, guarding against the others and the dark creatures said to dwell beyond. According to legend, Brandon the Builder, the founder of House Stark, constructed the wall with the aid of the children of the forest and the giants in the wake of the long night. Ancient spells and wards are said to have been woven into the very foundations of the wall to strengthen it and keep the powers of the others at bay. Tradition holds that Brandon laid the foundations upon high ground wherever possible, ensuring both strength and visibility. Some tales claim the wall's destruction could be brought about by the sounding of the fabled and mythical horn of Joramun. Maesters, however, debate the true nature of the wall's construction, particularly whether its base was first laid in stone rather than ice. The prevailing belief is that the early builders of the Watch hauled vast blocks of ice on sledges from frozen lakes in the haunted forest. In the present age, with the Watch now greatly diminished, the brothers are occupied not with great feats of building, but merely with maintaining what remains of the ancient works. He looked off to the east and west at the wall stretching before him, a vast white road with no beginning and no end, and a dark abyss on either side. The thoughts of Tyrion Lannister on the Wall. A Game of Thrones Chapter 21, Tyrion 3. Composed of solid ice reinforced with stone and earth, the wall dominates the northern landscape and can be seen for miles in every direction. Its colours shift with the weather and light, sometimes a deep, cold blue, at other times a pale, glacial grey. The top of the wall is just about broad enough for a dozen mounted knights to ride abreast, and it grows thicker towards its base. In many places, its crest is wider than the King's Road, with crushed stones laid across the surface to provide secure footing. The maintenance of the wall falls to the builders of the Night's Watch, led by Othel Yarwick, the first builder by the time of the main book series. According to ancient legend, powerful spells were woven into the foundations of the wall to strengthen and secure it and prevent magical creatures such as the others from crossing. There is even some evidence to suggest creatures such as dragons are too unable to cross the wall, presumably due to this magic. From Castle Black eastwards to Eastwatch-by-the-Sea, the wall runs straight as a sword's edge. To the west, however, it twists and bends through foothills of the Frostfang Mountains, between Castle Black and the Shadow Tower. These elevated sections that can reach up to 900 feet above sea level are roughly the same elevation as the High Tower in Old Town, though the actual height of the wall itself remains consistent. The serpentine stretch is especially evident on the maps between Greyguard and the Shadow Tower, where the wall forms a great southern arc near Greyguard itself. In sunlight, the wall shines a deep crystalline blue, beneath the moon glimmering faintly silver, and at dawn it takes on shades of pink and violet. On bright days, the melting ice causes it to sparkle as droplets of water run down its face, giving the impression the wall itself is weeping. Tunnels have been carved through the wall at each of the 19 Night's Watch castles, allowing passage to lands beyond. When a castle is abandoned or in times of peril, these tunnels are sealed with ice and stone to prevent intrusion. At the base of the wall, cells hollowed from the ice serve as storerooms, or at times prisons. The Night's Watch constructed 19 castles along the length of the wall, spaced to guard its 100 leagues. Even in its prime, however, no more than 17 of these strongholds were ever occupied at once. Over the past 3 centuries, as the watch numbers dwindled, most of these fortresses have fallen into ruin. The first of these to be forsaken was the Night Fort, during the reign of King Jaehaerys Targaryen. When Jaehaerys' wife, Queen Alysanne, visited the watch, she saw the poor state of the Black Brothers. More so, when she visited the Night Fort, which was the largest of the castles, she saw how it was, unmanageable and a ruin. She encouraged the watch to abandon the castle, personally financing the building of a new, smaller one, much more manageable, nearby. Thus was the newest of the castles on the wall built, Deep Lake. A statue was erected of Queen Alysanne at the castle in thanks of the role she played in the reforming of the watch. In the present days, only 3 castles now remain manned. The largest and best maintained is Castle Black, situated at the northern terminus of the King's Road and home to nearly 600 Black Brothers. To the west lies the Shadow Tower, garrisoned by roughly 200 men, and the far eastern end stands Eastwatch-by-the-Sea, the smallest of the occupied castles, and the Order's port upon the Shivering Sea, important for trade and defence. On occasion, a large force may be dispatched to one of the abandoned strongholds for a fortnight or a moon's turn, though such efforts are very rare. There are no inns or towns in the shadow of the wall, but a narrow track, always visible from the wall, runs from one castle to the next. There are also rangers' roads found north of the wall. The closest thing the wall has to a town would be Molestown, located near Castle Black, but even then, it's a very modest place. Winter is coming, and with it the White Walkers. The wall is where we stop them. The wall was made to stop them, but the wall must be manned. Jon Snow to Bowen Marsh, A Dance with Dragons, Chapter 53, Jon 11. The builders ensure the haunted forest does not encroach within a half-mile of the wall. Yet over the centuries, as many of the castles have been abandoned and the number of brothers have fallen, the woods have slowly crept back towards the frozen barrier in many places. Beyond the wall, the rangers of the watch patrol these wild lands, being vigilant of the dangers that stir in the far north. Atop the wall stands the remnants of its ancient defensive catapults, cranes and trebuchets, and some scorpions, though many of these are now fixed in place, their mechanisms frozen and immovable. It is in fact questionable how many of these defences even still work. Some of the engines of war have been dismantled for repair and never restored, locked in ice or decay. Access to the wall summit is granted from the southern side by the earthen and gravel ramps, winch-drawn cages, or steps hewn from the ice, stone or wood. The twisting tunnels that run through the wall at Castle Black is heavily fortified. It is sealed by a massive oaken door, 3 iron-barred gates, thick chains, and murder holes for defence. The Night Fort's gate is now long closed, with one protected by an iron portcullis. Today, only the passage at Castle Black, Eastwatch-by-the-Sea, and the Shadow Tower remains open and accessible. All others have been sealed against intrusion. The galleys of Eastwatch patrol the Bay of Seals, intercepting smugglers who would evade the wall by sea to trade weapons with the wildlings. In the west, the southern slopes of the Frostfangs, filled with treacherous gorges, forming a natural barrier, impassable all but to small bands of raiders. The wall offers a formidable tactical advantage to its defenders, allowing a small force to withstand and repel armies many times its size. Those stationed atop the wall stand far beyond the reach of any ordinary bow or catapult, and rely instead upon their own engines of war, volleys of arrows, and the simple and deadly art of dropping heavy objects upon attackers below. Barrels filled with stones, frozen in ice, have proven particularly effective in scattering large assaults. For those who would breach the wall, only 2 approaches exist: a direct assault upon one of its few heavy fortified gates, or an attempt to scale its frozen heights and strike from the rear. The gates themselves are ingeniously constructed and almost impossible to attack. In times of great peril, these gates and tunnels are sealed, but only as a last resort. Scaling the wall is no less perilous. Wildlings who attempt this climb from the northern face employ ropes of hemp, stone hammers and ice axes, as well as spiked boots. Though a determined party may reach the summit, their success depends entirely upon stealth. The defenders above can easily dislodge them with missiles or falling debris. Some claim the wall possesses its own form of sentience, that it defends itself, casting down great sheets of ice upon those who dare climb it.